You are in the middle of a perfectly normal afternoon. Your toddler is playing, things are calm, and then, completely without warning, they turn around and bite someone. And the feeling that washes over you in that moment is not just shock. It is something closer to shame. Because the thought that follows, the one every parent in this situation has, but almost nobody says out loud, is, what does this mean about my child? What does this mean about me? Here is what it means. It means your toddler's brain is doing exactly what an underdeveloped brain does when it is overwhelmed and out of options. That is not a comfortable explanation. But it is the correct one, and it changes everything about how you respond. Here is something that matters beyond the parenting context. The mechanism behind a toddler bite, an impulse generated by emotional overwhelm that bypasses every available rational override and exits through the body, is the same mechanism behind road rage, door slamming, and saying something you immediately regret in an argument. In a toddler, it happens because the brain systems that could override the impulse are not yet built. In adults, it happens because those systems are temporarily overwhelmed. Understanding it in its simplest form, in a 3-year-old, tells us something profound about all human emotional behavior. By the end of this video you will understand exactly why toddlers hit and bite, what is happening in their brain in the seconds before it occurs, and the 4 evidence-based strategies that actually reduce it, not by punishing the behavior, but by addressing the cause. To understand why toddlers hit and bite, you need to understand the condition their brain is operating in at all times, not just during the difficult moments. More than 1 million new neural connections are forming every second in the first 3 years of life. The toddler brain is in the single most intensive construction period it will ever undergo. A brain that is growing that fast is a brain that is permanently operating at or near the edge of its processing capacity. What we label as aggression in a toddler is almost always one of 2 things: a communication attempt from a child who does not yet have the language to express what they are experiencing, or a dysregulation event from a nervous system that has exceeded its capacity and defaulted to the most primitive output available, which is physical. The body says what the words cannot. The specific brain system at the center of this is impulse control, and in a toddler, it is almost entirely absent. Impulse control is managed by the prefrontal cortex, the region directly behind the forehead that, in a fully developed adult brain, receives an emotional impulse, assesses it, and either acts on it or overrides it. In a toddler, this region is so underdeveloped that neuroscientists describe it as functionally non-operational for this purpose. The gap between the impulse and the action that an adult brain crosses in a fraction of a second simply does not exist yet in a toddler's neural wiring. When your toddler bites, they are not choosing to bite and deciding not to stop themselves. The stop mechanism does not exist. You cannot punish a child into having a prefrontal cortex that has not been built yet. Consequences do not build neural architecture. Experience, consistency, and time do. The second factor is the language gap, and it is enormous in ways that are easy to underestimate. Research on toddler language development consistently shows that the ability to name and express complex internal states, frustration, overwhelm, jealousy, physical discomfort, the specific feeling of wanting something very badly and not being able to have it, lags significantly behind the experience of those states. Your 2-year-old can feel an emotion at adult intensity. They do not have the words for it yet. They cannot explain that they are overwhelmed, or exhausted, or that a situation feels profoundly unfair. What they have instead is the body. A bite expresses something that has no words yet. A hit communicates something that cannot yet be said. This does not make the behavior acceptable. It makes it understandable, and understanding it is the exact starting point of changing it. Developmental research identifies 5 specific triggers for hitting and biting in toddlers, and knowing them is the first practical step. The first is sensory overwhelm, too much noise, too many people, too many transitions happening too fast. The second is fatigue. An overtired nervous system loses the already thin capacity for regulation faster than almost anything else. The third is frustration, a task that will not work, a want that is not being met, a boundary that has been set. The fourth is boundary testing, a genuine exploratory attempt to understand what this action does and whether it is a tool that works. The fifth surprises many parents: excitement. Some toddlers bite during moments of intense positive emotion, during play, during affection, because the nervous system can be overwhelmed by joy in exactly the same way it is overwhelmed by distress. The outlet is the same regardless of the direction of the emotion. Understanding these 5 triggers changes something fundamental about how you experience the moment. The bite at the playgroup was your toddler already showing signs of sensory overwhelm for the 20 minutes before it happened. The hit that followed a boundary you set was your toddler already running on an empty regulation tank because it was 40 minutes past their nap window. The scratch during a hug had the play that preceded it been escalating in intensity for longer than their nervous system could sustain. In almost every case, the behavior that looked sudden had a visible runway leading up to it. Signs in the body, signs in the behavior, signs in the environment. Once you start reading the runway instead of waiting for the explosion, you stop reacting and start intercepting. That interception early, before the threshold is crossed, is where the real and lasting change happens. The first evidence-based strategy is narrating and naming the emotional state before the event happens, during the build-up, not during or after the behavior. Research from the Center on the Developing Child at Harvard University shows that consistent emotional narration by caregivers during elevated states activates the language centers of the toddler brain and begins to build the neural connections between feeling and expression that are still forming. The language is simple and does not require a long conversation. "I can see you are getting really frustrated. Your body feels like it needs to do something." That is the complete intervention. You are not solving the problem. You are not stopping the play. You are placing a word on the internal state before the body takes over. Over time, that narration becomes internal, the child begins to do it for themselves. That internal naming is the earliest form of self-regulation, and you are building it every time you do this. The second strategy is giving the body a legitimate outlet before the impulse reaches its threshold. Because hitting and biting are physical responses to physical overwhelm, the research supports having physical alternatives available as a genuine nervous system release, not as a distraction, but as a real outlet for the pressure that is building. Stomping both feet hard on the floor. Squeezing a pillow into a wall with both hands. Tearing a piece of paper. Running the length of the garden. These activities engage the proprioceptive system, the body's internal sense of its own physical state, in a way that tells the nervous system the pressure has been released through an acceptable channel. The critical detail is timing. These alternatives need to be offered during the build-up, as a proactive response to reading the runway, not as a consequence offered after the bite has already happened. The goal is to give the body a way out before it makes its own. The third strategy covers what to do in the actual moment of the hit or bite. The research is specific and consistent. Your response needs to be immediate, calm, and brief. Move toward the situation without urgency, get between the children, or gently stop the action. Use a very short phrase in a low, firm, unhurried voice. "We do not hit, biting hurts." Those words, that tone. Then, and this is the part most parents find counterintuitive, move your attention immediately and visibly to the child who was hurt. Attend to them first, fully, in view of your toddler. The instinct is to address the aggressor. But the research shows that attending to the hurt child first communicates the actual consequence more effectively than any immediate lecture. The behavior generated no additional attention. Keep the in-the-moment response short, calm, and consistent. The same words, the same tone, every time. Consistency is what the brain learns from. The fourth strategy is teaching replacement language in the calm window, the quiet minutes or hours after an event, when both your toddler and their brain are fully regulated. Research from Dr. Ross Green's work on collaborative problem-solving with young children shows that language teaching and alternative behavior building done in the calm window, rather than in the heat of the moment, has dramatically higher retention and application rates. In the calm, Sit with your toddler and narrate simply what happened. You were really frustrated and you bit. Next time you feel that way, you can say, "I need space," or you can squeeze your hands together really hard, or you can "come and find me." Keep it short. Keep it concrete. Make it physical and specific, not abstract. You are not relitigating the event. You are installing the replacement behavior during the only window when the brain is open enough to receive and store it. Before we close, 2 responses that are completely understandable and consistently produce the opposite of the intended outcome. The first is biting or hitting back to show them how it feels. This approach has been studied extensively and the findings are unambiguous. A toddler who is bitten or hit by a caregiver in response does not learn that biting hurts. They learn that biting is something that powerful, trusted people do when they have a strong feeling. The specific behavior you are trying to replace, physical force as a response to an emotion, is being modeled in the moment of consequence. Beyond the modeling problem, physical force from a caregiver registers in the toddler's nervous system as a threat signal, which elevates arousal and reduces regulation capacity, the exact opposite of what a dysregulated child needs. The lesson it is intended to teach is not the lesson it teaches. The second is the extended shame response, the long lecture, the exaggerated horrified reaction, the "you are being so naughty" delivered loudly in front of others. Research from developmental psychology shows consistently that shame-based responses to toddler aggression are associated with higher rates of aggression over time, not lower. Shame activates the threat detection system. A nervous system in threat mode is a dysregulated nervous system. A dysregulated nervous system is more likely to hit and bite, not less. The goal is not to make your toddler feel terrible about what they did. The goal is to build the neural wiring that means, over time, they will not do it because they have better tools available. Punishment addresses the behavior after it happens. What the 4 strategies we covered address is the condition that causes the behavior before it happens. That is the only level at which lasting change is built. Before we go, I want to speak directly to the parent who is carrying shame right now, from the bite at the playgroup, from the scratch at the nursery, from every moment in a public place where something went wrong and you felt every eye in the room land on you. Your toddler is not a violent child. They are a child with a brain that is 3 years old, navigating emotions that full-grown adults with decades of experience and a complete prefrontal cortex still sometimes fail to manage, and doing it with no language, no impulse control, and no map for the territory they are in. That is not your failure. That is biology at its most demanding. And every time you choose to understand before you react, every time you get low and stay calm and look for the runway instead of just the explosion, you are building something in your child's brain that no punishment could ever produce. You are building the tools. You are enough. Little minds, brave parents. See you next time.